so much, by the way, of what we've seen from these lovely folks is based on the idea that they don't want you to end up trusting the elections. They have to. They must make this in a way. And by the way, I'm going to try and change the scene that we're on to hopefully solve some of our sonic issues, perhaps, just possibly. Hopefully that will do it, and it will not be a factor of something else. But anyways,
I was diagnosed with sonic issues a few weeks ago.
I know that. Yeah, it's true. It's an atmospheric thing because you're so tall. This is, for a lot of us, as we've been watching, the biggest concern is that you can't trust the machines anymore, was when they return them. What are you going to, like, how do we know they didn't deal with the, mess around, put malware in the machines themselves?
Sure.
Apparently we're at a point where, yeah, exactly. And Mike Lindell, of course, is convinced that after his upcoming cyber symposium, see what I did there? That after that, they, even the first night, that's the interesting thing, it's the 13th through the 15th, I think, is when his thing's going. It's 3 days. He's going to do a 72-hour live stream of the whole thing.
Isn't that when Trump's supposed to be reinstated? The 13th?
Yeah, the 13th. After the 13th, the Supreme Court is going to see it, because they all watch live streams on Frank. And after they watch it, they're going to go, I give up. It's so true. I'm just going to reinstate Trump through a magic of the Supreme Court. Or order a new election via the Supreme Court 9-0, where we'll use nothing but paper ballots. And then, when Trump loses a second time, because they do a paper ballot election, and everybody's like, oh yeah, no way, dude. And a bunch of the only people that show up to vote for him are the same people who are the free repeaters at his rallies, trying to vote 3 times. It's going to be miraculous. So, again, I thought this was over. I thought, like, they'd finished the audit part of it, right? We had heard this. The recount part of it was done. They were done looking for panda poop in the in the particles of the paper.
From China.
Yeah, well, where else? I mean, what the Cincinnati Zoo? You don't think? Look, there's a slight possibility that panda poo from the Cincinnati Zoo floated. This is the 3rd rhyming sentence I've had in a row. Don't you know? It floated from the Cincinnati Zoo through the air and into the Ohio ballot process.
What are you going to do?
Well, what am I going to do? What are you going to do? So the Arizona Republicans review of 2020 elections, this is from Yahoo News, got off to a rocky start when the contractors broke rules for counting ballots, and election experts warned that the work was dangerous for democracy. When the auditors stopped counting the return ballots this week, see, it was done. It hadn't gotten any better. In the last week alone, the only audit leader with substantial election experience was locked out of the building. He went on radio to say he was quitting, and then he reversed course hours later. The review's Twitter accounts were suspended for breaking the rules. A conservative Republican senator withdrew her support, calling the process, quote, botched, and the lead auditor confirmed what was long suspect, that his work was almost entirely paid for by supporters of Donald Trump who were active in the former president's movements to spread false narratives. All of this came nearly 100 days into a process that was supposed to take about 60 days, according to the Senate Republicans who launched it. And it's not over yet. Contractors are now producing a report on the findings that could take weeks or more to write. It'll be done 2 weeks after Trump's health care plan comes out. The turmoil casts even more doubt on the conclusions of what backers describe as a, quote, forensic audit, but what experts say and critics say is a deeply flawed partisan process, or a pile of road apples, I think is my preferred phrase for this. Not even a shred of being salvaged at this point, said Senator Paul Boyer, the first Republican state senator to publicly come out against the audit in May. They botched it so many points along the way, it's irrecoverable. Boyer's opposition became less lonely last week when another Republican, Senator Michelle Ugenti-Rita, one of the legislature's strongest advocates for stricter voting laws, agreed that the Trump audit was botched, along with all 14 Democrats. A majority of the Senate, which has commissioned the audit, is now against it. I wanted to review our election processes and see what, if anything, could be improved, Ugenti-Rita wrote on Twitter. Sadly, it's now become clear that the audit has been botched. The review includes a hand count of ballots, the analysis of voter data, and a review of ballot counting machines. It's being led by Cyber Ninjas, a software security consultant with, by the way, I don't know why that's not in quotes, with no election experience before Trump began trying to overturn the 2020 results, which we will get to in a moment. The DOJ bombshell, the Oversight Committee releasing
things from
notes.
the DOJ. Feel free to speak freely, DOJ.
Yeah, exactly. Wake us all up to what you've got. Show us your files. It's going to be fun. Its owner, Doug Logan, has supported the movement to spread false conspiracies about the vote count in battleground states. On Wednesday night, Logan ended months of silence about who was paying him when he said a whopping $5.7 million of the $9 million, by the way, that's in there, has been contributed by political groups run by prominent Trump supporters, including Michael Flynn, Sidney Powell, Patrick Byrne, and correspondents from One America News Network. OAN is dumping a ton of stuff, basically to give them something to talk about. You know, it's like it's like if you found out that Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity were paying for Molotov cocktails for last year's unrest, so that they could have something to freak out about, right? The figure dwarfs the $150,000 paid for by the Senate. Logan has said he's approaching the review objectively, and his own views are irrelevant. Still, Logan appeared in, quote, The Deep Rig, a conspiratorial film claiming the election was stolen from Trump. The filmmakers were given access to restricted areas of the ballot counting operation, including the secure area where ballots were stored, where no one's supposed to go. The review's integrity took another hit when former Secretary of State Ken Bennett, a Republican whose experience in elections lent credibility to the operation, found himself locked out of the building where the audit was underway because he'd given outside election experts data without authorization. Authorization, by the way, from Cyber Ninjas, not from the Senate itself. Bennett told a conservative talk radio host that he was quitting because he was expected to rubber stamp the findings. Later the same day, he said he's not quitting after all. Senate President Karen Fann, a Republican, agreed Bennett, quote, will have full access to all audit workspaces, procedures, and data after they, locked him out. What happened during the time that they locked you out, Ken? Ken, during the time you couldn't get in, what happened? What went on? We got to take a break. We're way over the break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the Oversight Committee's release of documents, notes from the DOJ that many of you may have seen or heard about, but they're gorgeous. And they point to the fact that leading up to the 6th, Donald Trump had a plan the whole time. We'll be back. It's the House Sparks Radio program, mega worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT820.com, and of course 773-763-9278 if you want to call from Arizona and explain how a dry heat helps you find panda fibers. We'll be back. There's a lot of solutions coming up to our election woes. Mike Lindell has one.
So maybe does the Supreme Court say, hey, let's do another election with what we just showed you, Brandon, without machines. Maybe that's a thing. So maybe
maybe that's a thing. Yeah, maybe it is. It's not, but maybe it's a thing. Maybe. So the one of the best things about Trump not being in office is watching, Newsmax and OAN and all these groups try to come up with something to talk about, especially as things improve in areas where the Biden administration is having any impact whatsoever. Namely, the infrastructure bill moving forward today, with even Mitch McConnell signing on to move the vote forward. 17 Republicans joined this week in moving the infrastructure bill forward. That is the effectively meaning that there are at least 10, if not 11, Republicans that are going to vote for the final package. Even if it's not Mitch McConnell, there were plenty beyond plenty that moved it forward. Just a fascinating week. Trump's Texas choice for state senate lost.
That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, which just says to me, and I think everybody else, that the idea that Trump has this iron grip on the GOP and that they are special, that he's the kingmaker, has jumped the chart, and we can trust that that fade is going to continue. And one of the things that's helping is
batting. It was 50-50 even while he was president. If he endorsed you, that was not a guarantee.
Right,
because that would scare away most traditional Republicans.
Sure, and the trick afterwards, of course, was that he decided after he left office that he was only going to pick people that he was assured by the RNC or any of his insiders were a shoo-in. He was he was only going to had to be they had to
I love
so he was exactly. He was going to get a list of for real the only one he's only going to endorse people if they absolutely are going to run away with it so he can pat himself on the back for picking winners when everyone else is telling him who's going to win. Basically, he's doing a version of The Political Apprentice, wherein on the Celebrity Apprentice and on The Apprentice, the producers pick who wins and loses, who stays on the shows and who goes, based on who's entertaining, not who has value. And he reads the script and says you're fired when the producers decide who goes, right? The same thing was true of the RNC, the Heritage Foundation, anybody else he's taking his cues from. And to some degree, Mark Meadows and the others who are coming in there going, yeah, boss, totally. This is who you're going to say this person, yeah, boss, this is who's going to make it, this is who's not going to make it. And he's taking his cues from these folks and losing horribly. And it's a beautiful thing to watch. Now, and it shouldn't be a surprise.
Do you think that these people really are shoo-ins, and then when he actually jacks it up by throwing his hat in the ring?
I think you're actually onto something, Johnny Million. I think there's absolutely that's the case. That as far as it's not like they're wrong, it's just he's getting stank all over their choices. Like they may have been correct.
Were gonna win.
This person may have been a shoo-in until Trump gave them an endorsement, and then he effed up a free lunch, which he is wont to do.
Obama.
Yeah, right. It is Obama's fault. Or somebody in Kenya. We don't know who. It's probably a lizard who landed his spaceship in Kenya and has been wearing the skin of a poor unfortunate Kenyan posing as Barack Obama under a birth certificate that was actually written in Grover's Mill, New Jersey on Halloween 1943. John Big Booty, you're the weakest person I ever know. Listen, this is a Buckaroo Banzai reference for anybody who dares have one. But the Oversight Committee released this week notes from the DOJ that had these, and I think the biggest quote everybody's hearing is, the notes from it say, they're going, the DOJ say, look, we can't just snap our fingers and change the outcome of an election. We can't do it. And Trump's response is, I don't expect you to do that. Just say the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me.
Leave the rest to me.
And the Republican congressman. One of the things that's kind of left off that when they've been talking about in the news is that and the R congressman, which makes it way more important as we listen to who sided with him, Jim Jordan and the like, and especially in the lead up to January 6th, who was helping him sort of foment the big lie and push this big attack on the 6th. But just say it was corrupt and leave the rest to me. Now look, we all have problems with the fact that everything seems to be a reboot. You can't have, why can't we have new stuff? Hats off to the John Wick and Taken people for making new, out of the box franchises, fresh baked franchises out of nothing. And even to the Marvel folks for taking stuff that were finally doing a an Iron Man movie or something like that, which had never been done before. At least in the last couple of decades, we've seen some new stuff. But dang it, if we don't see a lot of rebooting of stuff. And it was a trend for a while that was just getting brutal. And the same thing is true for Donald Trump. Everything's a reboot. Right now, he's doing his own version of The Apprentice, just a political version, and he's not making the decisions, and the ratings are going down. Remember at the end of The Celebrity Apprentice, one of the reasons he ran for president was because the ratings were collapsing. It was going down. The show was going to go off the air. He had heard that the Rick Santorums of the world were selling books because they would run for president. They had no chance of getting there, but it helped them. It was a great PR move. So they hired a bunch of extras and set up this photo op, and he came down the escalator and said, "I'm running for president," in an effort to renegotiate his contract with with NBC and get the Apprentice to have a boost. And then, lo and behold, Mark Burnett, after going to Russia and trying to do a special a series about Vladimir Putin, comes back with marching orders to do a show about Donald Trump. And then, and then what was the thing that put him over the top in the election? Because there was a very strong chance he was going to lose. And then Jim Comey comes out and says there may be something to this whole Hillary Clinton server email issue, right? And what did he seek from Ukraine? A repeat of that moment. Look, just start the investigation. Say an investigation is going on into Biden corruption, and then, that's all you have to do. Just do a photo op. Just go out and say this is a presser, and we'll run with it. That's all we'll need. And he's doing the same thing. This is a triple reboot, an attempt to try and create this same thing again. We got to take a break. We'll be back again after this break. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.